Pleasure.
Now to the latest front in the border wall and the shutdown battle. President Trump yesterday abruptly canceled House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's military travel to Afghanistan after she requested he postpone his State of the Union address until after the government is reopened or submitted in writing. In a letter to the House Speaker, the president wrote in part this: "Due to the shutdown, I'm sorry to inform you that your trip to Brussels, Egypt, and Afghanistan have been postponed. We will reschedule this 7-day excursion when this shutdown is over. In light of the 800,000 great American workers not receiving pay, I'm sure you would agree that postponing this public relations event is totally appropriate." The president said he'd rather Speaker Pelosi stay in Washington to negotiate a way to reopen the government, adding, quote, "Obviously, if you would like to make your journey by flying commercial, that would certainly be your prerogative." The Speaker's office responded, saying that the trip to Afghanistan required a stop in Brussels for pilot rest, and that while there, the delegation would meet with NATO commanders, U.S. military leaders, and key allies to, quote, "affirm the United States' ironclad commitment to NATO." The trip did not include a stop in Egypt, the Speaker's office said, citing the president being incorrect. The Speaker's office also points out that the president and a Republican congressional delegation traveled to Iraq during the shutdown, and it was not seen as an excursion or a PR event. So it's been said that Donald Trump fears two things: his base and Robert Mueller. I think we can add a third person to that list. We said for months here that Bob Mueller is like no adversary Trump has ever faced on the national stage: relentless, dangerous. Well, now armed with the Speaker's gavel, Nancy Pelosi is demonstrating she's a lot like Mueller when it comes to her own face-off with Trump. Like Mueller, she has seen it all. She has an advantage over Trump because she gets how the system works better than he does. Nothing Trump does will make her afraid or rattled. Also, like Mueller, she knows more than she is saying publicly. She's gotten inside Trump's head. She uses her experience and leverage to keep the upper hand in driving press coverage. And again, like Bob Mueller, she's confident she will win in the end. What the shutdown has made clear is Trump is now fighting a two-front war against two tough, wily, and very similar threats. Mike Barnacle, your thoughts. We talk about Mueller's history and service and commitment to country. Nancy Pelosi is not far behind in this respect, and she is right up there, face-to-face, head-to-head against the President of the United States.
Well, Mika, unlike Donald Trump, Nancy Pelosi knows how to make a deal. She's made a lot of deals. Yep. And also in this instance, this is Nancy D'Alessandro was speaking about, raised in Baltimore, the daughter of the former mayor of Baltimore. She is tougher and a lot smarter than the President of the United States. And the whole thing about canceling the flight and canceling the Codell trip, the congressional delegation trip to Afghanistan, I mean, it makes you wonder whether on the desk of the President of the United States, does he have like Play-Doh and juice boxes? Because, I mean, this is just about a third-grade level, what he's doing here. And, Jonathan, in Washington, I don't know what kind of talk this engendered, the tit-for-tat, stuff like that, but at its root, it's bigger than that. It's, I think, to a lot of people, Nancy Pelosi, now armed with the gavel of the speakership, can clearly outmaneuver the president, since he has no team around him and seemingly no sense of strategy.
Well, they went into this shutdown fight without a clear plan, or even, and the extent to which they had a plan, it was based on a misreading of Nancy Pelosi. So the people around the president, not all of them, some of them didn't share this view, but I would say a majority view from the conversations I've had was that they believed she was politically hamstrung before her speaker's vote in January, and they thought, okay, she can't deal until that because she's under all this pressure, and then after the vote, you know, the rivers will part and we'll be able to do a deal with her. It was a fundamental misreading of her, of how she viewed this issue. And so you're now in a position where the conversations I was having last night with sources who've been in touch with the president over the last few days, he's as dug in as ever. He believes that if he relinquishes even slightly, he's going to let down the people who are still with him. She is stuck in her camp, and I'm not clear of what the path is to getting out of this situation. It really, I can't see it right now. Some people close to the president insist that they think there's some kind of darker deal on the table, a swap for, amnesty of some description. I just don't see it right now because she is really resolved and seems to have leverage.
Okay, so I just want to say, I want to register a dissent because to me, the letter to Nancy Pelosi is the day that Donald Trump became the president. The day, because I think this was a good political play by Trump. Not only did it appeal to his base by going at Pelosi, he has a real argument, which is there's a crisis in the United States. She's going away for a week. Theoretically, if there could be a deal, how is he going to make a deal with her if she's halfway across the world? And she shouldn't be flying around outside the United States while there's a big crisis. You can argue, if you want to call it childish, that's fine. This is exactly what Lyndon Johnson would have done. He's playing hardball. That's who he is. The letter is quite shockingly witty, I think. And no, I'm not kidding.
She's going to Afghanistan.
Oh, come on, Mike. So what? So she's going to Afghanistan. She has a break, and she thought she had a week off.
Paris Air Show that she was
Oh,
going to.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
The mistake I think Pelosi made in that Trump owns this shutdown. Now there's a narrative that they're both doing stupid, childish things, and that's what I don't like. I loved personally when she did it, but the fact now is what will stay now in voters' mind. These are both very tangible. They're both playing childish kind of stuff. That's why I wish Nancy had.
But if it's good politics, maybe. But does it get us an inch closer to a deal, Elise?
I don't think so. I think that they're both just locking horns. And to back you up just a little bit, these codels can so frequently be dog and pony shows that distract from the important work that's going on the ground. And I do think that if something this important is happening, like 800,000 federal workers aren't getting paid for doing an honest day's work, Nancy Pelosi should be in Washington. I think Trump behaved in a childish way, but that's par for the course.
Yeah, I have to say, the State of the Union, not just security, I think there is a serious concern, if I were Nancy Pelosi, that the president would use the platform of the State of the Union to take advantage of the situation, be incredibly abusive toward the shutdown, and use it toward feeding his base. And I would have, I think that she made a great decision pulling that platform away from him. We already saw what he did with the presidential address from the Oval Office. He's a proven, he's not trustworthy on this level. I don't think it's games. I think she's trying to deny him a platform that he would abuse. Jonathan Swan, thank you very much. Still ahead on Morning Joe. There's a whole batch of new poll numbers out right now. We're going to run through what they say about the president's position heading into 2020. Plus, a troubling new report on the Trump administration's family separation policy. There is a new tally on how many kids were pulled from their parents, and it is thousands more than previously reported. We've got a lot to get to this morning. You're watching Morning Joe. We'll be right back.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.